So, where will you begin? Glorious day. For those of you who were here with us for the first time, I hope today marks the beginning of your engagement with the Jewish Women's Archive, with the women's stories that we insist on telling, and with the expansion of horizons for women and men, for girls and boys, that results from the telling of those stories. Welcome and thank you for joining us to hear the stories of three feisty and fabulous women we are honoring today. Welcome to the few of you who have been with JWA from its inception, and to the many friends, allies, partners, and supporters who have joined us over the years. We've come a long way thanks to the many ways in which you've contributed to our work, facilitated our growth, and helped us earn our global reputation as the trusted go-to source for learning about Jewish women. I especially want to welcome back two of the women we honored last year, Letty Cotton Pogrebin and Elizabeth Sackler. To remember the late, great Gerda Lerner, to whom we owe much of our consciousness and understanding of the importance of women's history. And to introduce Liana Fink, who is sitting at the very back, the talented young comic artist who has joined us today to draw cartoons inspired by today's events and honorees. Finally, I want to thank the Jewish Women's Archive Board and its current leaders, Linda Morse and Michelle Rosen, for their unparalleled dedication. To thank the women and men who made leadership gifts in support of today's event, and our three trailblazer supporters, Barbara Dopkin, Michelle Rosen, and Prudence Steiner, for their extraordinary generosity. I want to thank our millennial mentors, Diane Wall, Karen Levy, and Julia Rhodes Davis, for their deep commitment to engaging today's young women with the Jewish Women's Archive, and our Jewish Women's Archive staff and the staff of Production Collective for their diligent attention to every detail of today's event. And finally, to thank the creative and passionate triumvirate of Jewish Women's Archive board members who imagined, planned, and produced today's special event, our event chairs, Susan Schlechter, Nikki Tanner, and Ann Kirshner. Ann could not be with us because this weekend saw the publication of her newest book, about which you will hear more shortly. This weekend also marks the publication of Sheryl Sandberg's Lean In, Women, Work, and the Will to Lead. Some of you may have seen the review already in today's New York Times book review. But in a recent article in the Los Angeles Times, Rebecca Traister, the third troublemaker we honored last year, wrote that with her book, Sandberg is, quote, making a disruptive, crucial observation. All is not just in the gendered world, and we should be talking urgently about how to make it better. Like Sandberg, Rebecca Traister is familiar with disruptive observations and actions, as are the women we are honoring today, as have been generations and centuries of Jewish women. Several weeks ago, I had the privilege of attending the premiere at a packed Alice Tully Hall of a most wonderful documentary on the history of the women's movement. Produced by the new organization Makers, and titled Makers, the Women Who Make America, the film weaves great archival footage together with poignant interviews with trailblazing women like Gloria Steinem, Letty Cotton Pogrebin, Judy Blume, Betty Friedan, and others. Millions of viewers watched when the film recently aired on PBS, and if you missed it, I strongly encourage you to find a way to see it. What struck me as the head of the 16-year-old Jewish Women's Archive was how similar the focus of this new organization is to that of the Jewish Women's Archive. It's thrilling to watch the video interviews that are now part of the Makers Living Library, and gratifying to see a growing new interest in the stories of the troublemakers and the history makers, in the women whose contributions have shaped our world. I am proud that today over 1 million people a year are pursuing that interest at the Jewish Women's Archive, that those seeking information about Jewish women through search engines like Google are regularly directed to JWA.org, that JWA has created a body of exceptional educational materials on the Jewish women and men at the center of 2 other American movements for social change, the Civil Rights Movement and the labor movement, materials that are firing the imagination of new generations with who we are and who they can be. Far from undermining creativity or innovation, the ability to claim a foremother inspires, strengthens, and empowers. Far from holding us back, standing on someone's shoulders holds us up and grants us a broader vision of what is possible as we each strive to mend this broken world. And now I have the pleasure of welcoming to the stage Rabbi and Senior Cantor of Central Synagogue, Angela Buchdahl. There is no one better suited to set the tone for this celebration with song.